Psalm 53.
The fool hath said in his heart, there is no God. Psalm 53, verse 1. He didn't say this outwardly with his lips. He simply said it in his heart. You have here a description of practical atheism. Now, most people in the streets would not say, oh, I deny that there is a God. Most people just live as though there is no God. That's the emphasis in Psalm 53. He's talking about practical atheism. He's warning us that what we think about God in our hearts determines how we live our outward lives. You see, most of the people in this world do not know God. Perhaps that's our fault. Perhaps we should be praying more, giving more, witnessing more. But let's just face the fact that most people live as though there is no God. They rarely think about Him unless there is sickness or tragedy or death, and even then they soon forget. But the psalmist tells us in Psalm 53 that what you think about God affects your will. Verse 1, the fool hath said in his heart, there is no God. Corrupt are they. They have done abominable iniquity. There is none that doeth good. When you say there is no God, then you're saying there is no good. And then you have a will that goes out and does whatever it wants to do. Verse 2 tells me in Psalm 53 that saying there is no God, practical atheism, also affects your mind. God looked down from heaven upon the children of men to see if there were any that did understand, that did seek God. They do not understand, and they don't want to understand. They want to live their own lives without God. Verse 5 tells me it affects their heart. There were they in great fear where no fear was. It's an interesting thing. The fear of God comes upon them even though they don't believe in God. Now, there is a God, and this God is our God, and we know Him and we trust Him. However, do we live our lives as though God is not watching? Do we speak as though God is not listening? Do we think and ponder in our hearts as though God is not pondering? Let's live as those who say, yes, we know God, and we want to glorify Him.